What is up, everyone? I am Chris Knight, and you are watching the Rule of Three. This is where we take three YouTubers, as you can see. We take three topics, chose by the wheel of topics, and we get 3 minutes to talk about them. Rule of three, 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 three. Yeah, lots of threes. So that's what we do here. First off, we're going to introduce the two people that I have with me today. They'll talk about themselves really quick, and then we'll get right into the topics and everything like that. First off, the guy that's always here, it is Danny of Comic Chat. Danny, tell everybody about yourself, where they can find you, and all that good stuff.
How you doing? My name is Danny. My channel is Comic Chat. Monday nights I have the Chaotic Conversation where I usually do rankings of different Marvel, sci-fi related material. This week I was off, and you should have seen probably at least 4 different things from me. So please check out my channel. I'm trying to do little small clips. Also, you'll see me later on this afternoon along with Terrence and Jason on Equilibrium at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our main topic of discussion will be Mortal Kombat Legends, Scorpion's Revenge. Please check us out. We appreciate any and all support.
All right, and up next, Jason. Jason's first time on here. You might have seen him in the chat in the past. But Jason, go ahead and tell everybody about yourself and where they can find you.
Not a problem. First off, thanks for having me on the show, Chris. Danny, good to see you again. I don't really have a channel up yet, but I'm still thinking about getting into the space. I really enjoy doing the streaming, so once I get it up, I'll let you guys know.
All right, very good. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and bring up the wheel of topics. This is where we pick all the topics, and that's basically as far as this goes. Let's go ahead and spin for our very first topic today. I think we got a lot of Marvel stuff on here today, as you see right here. The first question today is, what is one Marvel movie that hasn't been made yet that you would like to see made? So think about your comic books and all that stuff out there. What is the one Marvel movie that has not yet been made that you would like to see made? Jason, since you are our guest of honor today, we're going to go ahead and start if you'd like. If not, I'll make Danny start.
I'll go.
Okay, 3 minutes is on the board. Your time starts now.
Excellent. So what Marvel movie would I like to be made? Mine wouldn't probably be a movie. It would more or less be a series. I would love to see them do the Secret War series. When I was growing up, that was a great comic book. I love the series. I know maybe with Spider-Man in it, they could show how he actually gets the black costume, even though, you know, they did their own thing with Sony and the Venom. But in this costume, we can see the Beyonder. Doctor Doom will be in it. So I think it would be a great series for them to do. They could do it over the next couple of phases, if that's what they plan to do. But Secret Wars would definitely be one I would love to see.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay. Is that all you have? Okay.
For Secret Wars, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Danny, you ready?
Okay. I am.
It's on the board. Go ahead.
2 particular characters I want to see. One they haven't done yet. One they did. I'm very anxious to see Namor the Submariner. I want to see how they do that. I think he is a little bit more cooler than Aquaman, which I was very pleased with the Aquaman movie. I'd like to see a standalone Namor movie. See his backstory, how he became the prince, and see him interact with the Fantastic Four. I know in the comic book movie there's a love interest between him and the Invisible Girl, Sue Storm. I like to see that, see how exactly does that work, how will they do it when they stick to source material, will they put their own little Kevin Feige twist to it? It would definitely be interesting to see. One of my other favorite characters is a bad guy. Is Juggernaut. I don't like what they did to Juggernaut in any of the movies. I don't like the one that I can't think of the English guy that played it in what was his name? I can't But I don't like it. The one like Juggernaut, bitch. I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. That was one of them.
that was in
Last Stand.
Last Stand.
I don't
Yeah,
like
that
that
was.
Juggernaut. And I definitely don't like the one that was in Deadpool. I want to see the one that's in the full brown suit that we see in the cartoons with the bands on his hands, on his arms, forearms, just like the unstoppable force. I would love to see him and the Hulk go at it. That would definitely what I want to see. I remember a cartoon episode where he attacked his brother or his half brother, Xavier, and the X-Men had to defend him. I would love to see if they reboot the X-Men that the bad guy either him or Mr. Sinister. They hinted Mr. Sinister in one of the X-Men movies, I think Last Stand, if I'm not mistaken. They hinted him because they had his name on the briefcase. Sussex or whatever his name is, Sussex, I think. But that's Mr. Sinister. So I definitely will want to see, well, I say two, but those three. Juggernaut, definitely want to see Namor. I think we're going to see Namor possibly in Black Panther 2, but I want to see a standalone. And I would definitely love to see the Juggernaut in a standalone movie or be the main villain in the X-Men movie or reboot, whenever that happens. And I would like for them to maybe do a arc involving Mr. Sinister, because that was one of Colossus' biggest enemies. Colossus and his brother, for some reason, their powers could hurt Sinister more so than the others. So I would definitely like to see one of those three characters.
Excellent.
Those are all good choices. So my 3 minutes, we'll go ahead and start right now. Okay, I want to explain this really quick by saying that this has been done, but it hasn't been done technically or fully within the Marvel universe. It has, but they've changed some things. So it would be a Hulk movie. Now, I know the Incredible Hulk technically falls into the MCU because they had Iron Man in it and everything like that. But they even changed who the Hulk was. I want to see a Hulk movie with Mark Ruffalo. And I know there's talk of She-Hulk coming out either as a series or as a possible movie that they're going to then have Mark Ruffalo be in. But I think Mark Ruffalo does a pretty good job as the Hulk, and I would like to see that. Fantastic Four, according to Steve right there, that would be great. Something that's consistent, because they've had how many now? Two or three?
Yeah, they have four if you count that bad one in 1995 or whatever.
So they have three. Okay. So they've tried and they've tried and they've tried and they've tweaked and they've played with and they've mixed it up, and done all sorts of stuff with it. But they've yet to really come up with what I think most people would say is a good Fantastic Four movie. Now, I think that those are some of the best two choices right there. Looking at other ones, boy, I'm looking at the chat too here.
I really wish they would, not to interrupt you, but if they're going to do the Fantastic Four, the Hulk, I want to see the leader, because they hinted at it in the last, when that guy had the stuff that seeped on his brain and he became.
Well, that's the thing. In the Incredible Hulk, they were, at least people thought that's where they were going with it. And I think that would have done a pretty good job. I don't think the Incredible Hulk movie was bad, really. It wasn't
one with him and Abomination.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Mm-hmm. But I like that one better than the other one with Scott.
But see, that's funny. I like the first one, but it's just it's different. I think I looked at the visual styling and stuff, and that's what I liked. It gets boring at times when they're out in the desert. It's just like, oh my God, please, let's just get on with this. So here, well, let's do this. Let's talk about this all together. We'll start the 3 minutes back up, and we'll do the chat amongst us. So, you want to see a series?
I want to see the Hulk go against the Red Hulk. I want to see that arc. I want to see Thunderbolt Ross become the Red Hulk. Kind of keep it secret until the great reveal. But I want to see him because in the comic books, when the Red Hulk first come out, he was giving the Green Hulk hell till he was able to figure his stuff out. And then we didn't know, no one knew who the Red Hulk was. Then when they finally did the reveal, everybody was like, "Oh shit!" So, of course, now we know who the Red Hulk is, but I still want to see them do that story.
I actually think they're gonna introduce the Red Hulk somewhere in this phase of movies.
The thing is, I don't even know how far Phase 4 really goes, because all we know is I think up to Love and Thunder, I think is the last one that they've mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So and we've all said when they first gave us that graphic of this is what we're doing, and they had the TV series in it, and they had this and they had that. One of the first things I know we all talked about, or I don't know, I hadn't talked to you guys about it, but I've talked about it in the fact that Phase 4 seems really small comparative to
I think the movies are not as. I think they're integrating the TV shows in the movies. That's why I seem small.
That's fine, but that's like a lot of setup for something we don't know that's coming.
Well, I think they got to do that to try to keep Disney Plus alive. Is what I'm thinking.
Well, there's that.
I also think that they just haven't told us everything yet. You know
I think. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I think Phase 5 is going to be much better than Phase 4. Phase 4 is going to be kind of like filler, but then Phase 5, I think we're going to get Captain Marvel 2. We're going to get Black Panther 2. They're talking about the new Avengers.
Well, yeah, that's what we think might be Phase 5, but I think they're going to take a couple of those and put them at the end of Phase 4. I think, like, put it this way,
maybe if it wasn't for the crisis we're going through now, but the crisis we're going through now is pushing
TV series. They're setting that up for something completely. I know we talked about Hawkeye, or not? Yeah, Hawkeye. Is it Hawkeye?
The Winter Soldier. If they know what's good for them, they will set it up to be the next Captain America movie.
That's why I think they're going to.
That's when I would introduce.
I think that
Sam. As new Captain America.
I think that they're going to do that, but I wonder when they're going to put that. If they're going to put that in Phase 5, or because here's the thing: if that's what this is a bunch of setup and stuff, then they need to get on with it. They need to figure this out pretty damn quick before we all.
No, I think they had it figured out till this crisis came.
I don't know. They pushed back some of it before it even got started. And what is it with Hawkeye? Didn't they have a series planned out for him?
Yeah, but I think something happened in his personal life that kind of put brakes on that.
He has his fans. Okay, guys, we're gonna go for the second topic right now. Oops, sorry, guys. All right, there is a rumor that the Avengers will transform into the new Avengers in Phase 5. Do you think it will be the Secret Invasion storyline? So, Danny, we'll let you start. 3 minutes is on the board. Time starts now.
I don't know. I got this question because I follow a YouTuber. I can't think of his name, but his channel is called Everything Always. And this guy usually be on point. Yep. He has some kind of insider in both camps, I believe, but especially in Marvel. And basically stuff that he says, it usually be way ahead of the curve, and it usually be right on point. I watched his channel last 2 days, and he's talking about the new Avengers, and that one of the things that's being kicked around is Secret Wars, which I think would be cool. It's going to depend on whether or not Sony and Marvel can get their, I think, ships aligned or on the same page, because we know that Spider-Man is a big part of Secret Wars. If they can tie Secret Wars into Venom 2, into Madam Web and the Morbius and all that kind of stuff, maybe not so much Morbius, but definitely Spider-Man and Venom, because in Secret Wars, that's when Spider-Man gets the black suit. So I don't know. I'm going to continue following this guy. Like I said, this is not nothing that's concrete. This is just speculation on my part. but also listen to what he says and tracing his track record. This individual that has everything always YouTube channel used to be right on point. So I'm hoping. I would love to see Secret Wars. I would love to see. I don't know how they're going to make the scrolls. That was Secret Invasion. Secret Wars. I don't know how. I don't know if that would be too many bad guys because there's a lot of bad guys in Secret Wars. So I don't know how they can get all that. Because if memory serves, it was a Lizard, Doctor Doom, and a lot more people. So I don't know how they're going to get all that together to whether they're just going to do an end scene credit and hint to that. That would be awesome. But in order for them to do that, they're going to have to introduce Doctor Doom at some point. We already introduced the Lizard and the other bad guys that's going to be in that story arc. So they're going to, like you said, they're going to have to get busy. I don't think there's no way possible they could do all these movies. So they're going to have to make sure that whatever they put on Disney Plus ties into that. Maybe even into the Loki storyline. We don't know what that WandaVision storyline may be. We don't know what if it's going to do. So they're going to have make sure the writers are all in touch with each other and make sure in order to get the Secret Wars that everything is going to point that direction and be cohesive. So I hope and pray, got my fingers crossed, that we see Secret Wars, and I definitely think the new Avengers is going to happen.
Okay. All right, Jason. 3 minutes on the board. Again, you don't have to use all of it, but all right. So do you need to know the question again?
No, go ahead.
Here you go.
Great. So first thing is, I definitely think they will be doing the new Avengers. They want to move away from phase 1. So they want to have different Avengers. They want to have Spider-Man in there. They have to get their stuff together with Sony because from what I hear, it's only 1 more movie or 2 more movies with Spider-Man. So they definitely have to get that in there. But Secret Wars, like I was saying earlier, would be a perfect, like, for the whole phase, for phase 5, phase 6, however long it takes, just like they did with the first one. Have Avengers, New Avengers 1, New Avengers 2, New Avengers 3, where they're actually going up against maybe a Galactus or the Beyonder. They had Thanos in Secret Wars, if I'm not mistaken. No, he wasn't in Secret War. Okay, that was totally different. But yeah, definitely they would have a lot of villains in there, which is what I like. As I said that before, like I want to see an actual fight where there's a bunch of heroes going up against a bunch of villains, right? So they did kill off a couple of them, but they have so much to go for. There's so much villains that they could use. Bring in Doctor Doom. They could bring in Mr. Sinister. They still have a few from Spider-Man Homecoming. They still have the Vulture. They still have Shocker that they could use. So just imagine all of these villains going up against the new Avengers. The new Avengers will be, I have no idea. Probably Captain Marvel, Sam, Bucky. Who else? I really don't know. You know what I mean? But
War
at the
Machine,
same time,
maybe.
yeah, War Machine might be there, but I don't think he'll be prominent because he did have like a major role in the first phase. So he might be there maybe as an advisor to the new Avengers. To me, it looks like they want to go in a whole different route and they just want to have a whole bunch of new Avengers in there. Would be good to have them mixed with some old though. Hulk should still be there. War Machine should still be there, which would be good to have, you know, new Avengers against old Avengers. But somewhere in the phase, they're definitely going to have to pass the baton to new Avengers. I don't even think Chris Evans will come back. Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man, he said he probably would come back for a couple cameos, but that'll be in the past, you know, or maybe they'll do something with Doctor Strange to actually bring him back because he's a moneymaker in Marvel, you know what I mean? So it's hard to go on without him, especially if they see that the Phase 4 is not doing as good as the past ones. They'll definitely find some way to bring him back. So Secret Wars would definitely be something I would like to be done if they do it correctly, which I have no question that they will. It would be a perfect send-off for the next phases.
Yeah, good points. Real quick, this is a couple things that 14 Barber said earlier about I think Phase 4 or whatnot. He said it'll be Captain, or Phase 5 maybe. It'll be Captain Marvel and others. I also reckon it'll fail bit by bit. And I think what you just said, Jason, is a good point. The more they see these numbers downturn, the more they're going to have to try to bring back some of these other characters that they've had. They can't just write these guys off. They're going to have to keep relations up with these people. And then about the Spider-Man, 2 more movies because it's Mobius, because Mobius is set in the MCU. I expect it'll be more than 2 more movies, and I do too. I mean, I think that Sony and Disney absolutely are forging a path forward. That's going to be the model of how you make these movies work best. Let 2 different people carry out stories, but when we want to, we're going to work together to come up with something. So, like, for instance, I think Sony would be smart right now, since there's a Disney storyline with Spider-Man, to work Spider-Man with them and say, okay, well, we're doing this movie and this movie. We want him over here in these 2 movies for cameo appearances. We're going to take him because he's our character. And that makes sense. And then occasionally you can have it the other way around. Hey, you're using Spider-Man, but how about you use Mobius, or you use Madam Web, or anything like that. I think we're going to see more of that now. Okay. But all right. So New Avengers, yes, they are going to do that. It's already been put out there. I think that there'll be a couple of the old Avengers, though, like Jason said, in the New Avengers. One, Captain Marvel, which I don't know if you could ever count her as an Avenger, because she was there for Endgame and then she wasn't, and then she came back. And I think she was doing her own thing, because we know there's an underlying story plot from her movie at the end where they bring Sword in, I think it is. Mm-hmm. And we know that that's basically where she ran off to. She's looking at things going on off the Earth. So that's going to be brought into the New Avengers. She's going to be brought into the New Avengers, and I think the New Avengers isn't going to be just about what's going on Earth. I think they're going to move it past Earth. I think she may come at Earth because she's kind of feeling obligated about Tony. I think now that Tony and Cap, which are the big part of the big 2, well, the big 3 are going off work. Well, one's dead, the other one's old as Methuselah now, and the other one was with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, so I think she'll see the void. There's nobody there really to challenge her. Well, I can see her sliding into that. Plus, that little all female shot they made a point of showing in Endgame. No. I think of the old Avengers, if you want to count her, Captain Marvel, I think they're going to make Captain Marvel the leader. I hate that. Whatever. I think that they're going to make her the leader. I think Spider-Man will still be there, but he will be more of a leader than he was. He's not going to be the little kid on the block. He's going to have a little more understanding of what's really going on. Yeah. I think those 2, it'll be Scarlet Witch. I think Scarlet Witch will come back. I think we're going to get to see people we have seen, but only in smaller roles. We may even see Pepper. Maybe. But I think that, Iron Man until they decide to do something with New Avengers is definitely going to happen. But I don't know exactly what the storyline is going to be, because here's the problem. This storyline, even though the Endgame storyline is over, this is still within the MCU universe of movies. Therefore, they have already set up a lot of different things in past movies that they're going to have to bring in. So I'm not positive if it's going to be the secret invasion, or if it's going to be any of the stuff we've seen happen in comic books. They haven't set that up yet. Now, are you talking about we're not getting the Avengers movie till? And again, we got a lot of Phase 4 left. We don't know what they're going to add with Shang-Chi. We don't know what they're going to add with Doctor Strange 2. We don't know what they're going to add with Thor: Love and Thunder. We don't know if these movies are going to actually. I'm going to start the 3 minutes now for all of us to talk. We don't know what they're setting up, because now we have this delay in Phase 4. I don't see how they're going to do Secret Invasion unless they totally something
totally happens between the Skrulls now, because
Well, and it might, because we know something's going on. Because of Captain
the last
Marvel.
we've seen, the Skrulls was on that ship, the villain Sword, and Samuel Jackson, and then we're on a friendly basis.
Well, that's
unless
the thing.
something happens between now and then, unless they double crossing Samuel Jackson now.
But think about it. In the comic books, are they a group of people, a group or a race that they get along with people?
No, the Skrulls are evil.
No, exactly. So we haven't seen that yet. Captain Marvel in that movie was told they're evil, they're bad, they're this and that. They turned out for that split second not to be. You think that Kevin Feige is going to totally rewrite that group of people, that group?
You're saying the same thing I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't see how they can do a secret invasion based on what we see now. There is no way, because the Skrulls seem to be good. The Skrulls in Secret Invasion were evil. So unless something happens between now and whenever the next movie
building up, and like I said, there's lots of stuff they've started to set up. The first one is the Skrulls are good right now, but we've been told in the past that they're not.
Only by the Kree.
Exactly. So we got that. We don't know what's going to happen in the Eternals, which could add some of that into it, because that's not really Earth-based. Love and Thunder has never really touched. Thor stuff is completely, really, it's always been separate. They haven't really added a ton.
Based on what they do, the only way that this could happen is in a different timeline. The Skrulls are evil, and then they invade our timeline. That's the only thing I can see.
Or they use the Kree. They make the Kree bad,
or they make the Kree bad,
and use them as the invader.
To me, what makes sense, maybe one of these alternate timelines that Loki created, he finds the evil Skrull, or maybe in the Loki show, he does something that pisses off the Skrulls and then make them mad against us. And then in the big movie, we see on the TV show, we saw Loki did all his manipulations, and now we see on the big screen that now they're pissed off at the Earth because of something Loki did on the show. That would make sense to me.
14 says what would be decent is to split the franchise in two, make the Cosmic Avengers and then the Earth Avengers. That way you have a boss team up with Spidey, Panther.
I forget about Panther. Panther's going to be
Panther. I think he'll be there. Doctor Strange, Wanda. And that's what I think. While we're talking about new Avengers, I don't think it's what some people are thinking. I think some people think that it's going to be like characters we haven't seen yet. I just think it's going to be characters that they still can get to come back, who haven't been in this for a long time. I think Benedict Cumberbatch will come back for more than just this next movie. I think because he's only got he's only been in 4 technically, but well, 3 right now.
I remember 2. What was the third one?
Well, Thor? It was his movie. He was in
Thor, and then the Avengers. I mean, the Endgame. I got you.
He was in his movie. Was he in?
He was in Thor.
Which one? Ragnarok?
Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. No. So, but he was only in that for a split second. So, I mean,
in his end.
Yeah. So there's 4 then. Then there's Infinity War and Endgame.
Okay.
So that's 4. But I think it's going to be people like that, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Scarlet Witch, because the way it sounds is they're doing this movie or this series to build her character back into it.
Yeah.
So that'd be interesting. So, hey, Orange Hat, how you doing?
In Doctor Strange 2, isn't she supposed to be back?
I think Doctor Strange 2 is going to be a kind of continuation of her show, the WandaVerse, which I'm not excited about. Maybe it'll be better. Just looking at that preview, I was very underwhelmed.
Yeah, I was too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so let's go for our third one here. Boom. With the promise of Venom 2 trailer coming out soon, what would you look for, or what would you look for them to do to make this movie a good sequel?
Good question.
Yeah, so we've been told that we're gonna get the Venom 2 trailer, and for one reason or another, I mean, I'm of the full mind that they have it, it's ready to go out. But I think they're just I think what they're trying to do, to my thought process is they're just waiting to see if there's a better sign of the end of this before they put it out there, because while it hasn't been moved back yet,
I totally agree.
It could still be on the block to be moved. I know they don't want to, but I think what they're trying to do is say, well, we want to put this trailer out there, but we don't know yet what we can do with the movie, so let's wait. But let's take the trailer off the board because it said springtime. We're just in the middle of spring right now, so we're not worried about that. But let's talk about, what do you think they need to do to make this a good sequel? Jason. Oh, wait. Jason, did you go first last time? No.
I went first in the first one.
Yeah, okay. But I'm going to let you go first again because I never go first since I'm kind of hosting this.
Not a problem, bro.
But Jason, your 3 minutes is on the board. Go ahead.
Cool. Well, first off, I liked Venom, the first one. I know it was different from the comic books and everything, and a lot of people didn't like it. But I actually thought it was a pretty good movie. It was decent. It wasn't that bad. Venom 2, they already kind of, to me, seems like they want to mix the universes with Michael Keaton being in Morbius trailer. So what I would actually like to see is them actually find a way to maybe put in the cameo of Spider-Man in there, or someone from the MUC, just to show that maybe it's a different multiverse. And that's why the Venom story is a little bit different than as it is in the comic books. I think that would be a great way to actually integrate the two series. So with Venom 2 being the first one there, maybe they put a cameo with Michael Keaton or have Morbius somewhere in there. His villain's going to be Carnage. So as long as they keep Carnage, because Carnage in the comic was a beast, right? And I know it's not going to be an R-rated movie, so we can't have Carnage doing all the killing he was doing in the comics, but at least keep it to where he stays true to the character. They did a little changes with Venom, like he was more kind of an anti-hero than a bad guy, and I don't want to see that with Carnage. I want to see strictly Carnage going off, maybe killing people as much as they can do in their series anyways, but having him and Carnage go at it, maybe that's bringing a Spider-Man to help beat Carnage, because Carnage in the comics, it took more than just Venom and Spider-Man to beat him, right? They had to team up to beat Venom, to beat Carnage. So that's something I would definitely like to see in this series. Other than that, I'm excited for it. Let's just say that. I'm definitely excited for it.
Okay. Awesome. Danny, 3 minutes on the board. Go ahead.
First thing, I agree with you said earlier, Chris. If they're kind of waiting it out to see how this crisis is going to end, I totally think that's the right thing to do, because let's say hypothetically this thing ends in the next 60 days. That'll put us at June. We get all clear in June. What I would do, since all the other movies have already pushed theirs back, I would be just throwing out Venom 2 trailers, commercial spots, all I could get, and I would get people really excited to see that. To make it better, I think I like the first Venom. A lot of people think it was a shit sandwich. I do not think it was a shit sandwich. I however, do not think it was caviar either. I think if I got to rate it from 1 to 10, 1 being sticky hot horse shit and 10 being a cool glass of lemonade, I'm gonna give it a 7.5. Depending on how I feel, maybe an 8. Was it the Spider-Man that we've grown accustomed to seeing? No, it is not the Spider-Man that we saw on read about in the comic books or saw on any other animated shows. But if you watch my my upload from yesterday, I brought about 2 words. 2 words is alternate universe or multiverse, whichever one you want to choose. 2 words: alternate universe or multiverse. So in the multiverse or the alternate universe, there are going to be different things to different characters. They're going to be similar in some ways, but in some ways it's going to be totally different. This is just an alternate version of Venom, that Madam Web, who I'm sure is very aware of, and if they do what they should do, Madam Web will introduce our Spider-Man into that universe, and then we may see our Venom. But you just gotta let stuff play out. You just can't you can't have a knee-jerk reaction, be like, oh, that's not this, not that. Let Sony take a time to step back. Say, okay, we saw this, we can improve upon this. So let's do this, this, and this in Venom 2. I want to see Venom 2 be very, very graphic and very violent. But and they can do that because they're not associated with Disney. As long as they stay there, then they can do, and we can see the very violent Venom. But if they get into bed with Marvel, then of course we're going to lose that. But right now, they don't have to touch anything from Marvel. They can go to Sony and get Spider-Man, and then they can, excuse me, then they can do their thing and make Venom just as cold-blooded. Make Carnage just as cold-blooded as they want to be. Right now, they have, and with the addition of Andy Serkis, that is the cherry on the top. So I think that they have the potential to make an outstanding movie. You just got to have the balls enough to do it.
So, let me start with 3 minutes. Yeah, you guys said it. Carnage can't be okay. So at the end of Venom, and which I think I'm with you guys. Venom, I think, was awesome. I think it was done very well for the amount of money they put towards it. Again, think about the amount of money they put to it. That's kind of like saying, well, we're not sure, but whatever they weren't sure about, I'm not sure about that because it looked good. It was what I wanted from Venom, because what you got in Spider-Man 3 was not enough or not done right. That was the first problem. So when they did this, all the things like when he's sliding on the pavement and it's protecting him, when he's on his bike, all of that stuff. The guy, the fight between him and the entity, it's like, oh, we're gonna get killed or something. He's like, no, we are not. And just when he's doing it, I like that. And then by the end of the movie, the symbiosis became more complete because they actually were discussing things together and working together. And then I can't remember what the name of the other creature was that takes over the Havoc. That's right, Havoc. And Havoc, it was nice. It was that part of it was kind of unpredictable because the guy was really kind of no holds bar. They need to take that a couple notches up for Carnage. That was, I think, a test for Carnage, honestly. I think that was more, let's put this part in there and let's see how this works out. And then Carnage is going to have to be there for a lot longer, of course. It's going to be from the get-go. We're going to have to know it's Carnage. You can't hide him in the movie until the very end, because that's basically what happened with that, is that Havoc didn't come on until the very end. So I think that they need to definitely ratchet it up. Again, Danny and I have talked about this, and Jason, I know you've heard us talk about it. Disney needs Disney, and I know this is Sony, but when we're talking this MCU stuff, Disney has to play with these rated R movies, and they've got to just get off of this plane of, we'll go PG-13, but we won't go rated R. Because here's the thing, I'd like to see Spidey come into this. Now, the deal that they just signed a while back, everybody's like, oh, well, he's set for a cameo is what it says. But I don't think cameos really are going to be something that Disney's going to quibble over with Sony when they've got a good deal. Because Sony still owns the character. I don't see why they can't just say, well, we're going to pull it. We want Riot. Riot was his name. That's right. Okay. Orange Hat says it was Riot, and I think it was Riot.
I just saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. But, and let's start the 3 minutes here. I think that we're going to see Spidey in more than just one cameo role. I think that they would want to use Spider-Man in Venom, though. And I think perhaps you have him in a couple quick parts. I'm not sure exactly how you would how you would bring him in, but you'd have him in a couple parts where he meets Eddie somehow, and him and Eddie are talking, and then he figures out that Eddie's got something going on. And at some point, with Carnage fighting and tearing stuff up and whatever, Spidey figures out, wait a minute, I think this is what's going on. And then by the end of the film, him and Venom team up to dispatch of Carnage, make him go back to wherever he came from, something like that. I don't know if you should kill Carnage though in this movie.
No, you should not. Riot and the other guy, they were never being compatible because Riot had his own agenda and the other guy had his own agenda. So they were kind of bumping heads.
Yeah.
One thing about Eddie and Venom is that they kind of bump heads at first, but then once they figured out, okay, and like at the end, I like when he's put the ground rules. You cannot eat good people. Never, never, never eat good people.
Not even
only bad people. So I like that little. And then with Carnage and Cletus is totally crazy, and Carnage is crazy. So they're like a match made in heaven.
They've got to keep that part of it the same.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
they need to let Woody Harrelson voice the crazy Carnage voice like Tom Hardy did for Venom. I think that would be awesome if they do that. But they got to listen to Andy Serkis because he's the master of acting like different characters and stuff.
Yeah. Jason, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, yeah, exactly what Danny was saying. Like, they need to keep Carnage. That's why his name is Carnage, right? Mm-hmm. So they need to have him just crazy and going off and killing people. If they tone him down, it's just not going to work.
No, and that's the thing. That's where I think Sony's going to be willing to do the rated R stuff. I don't think they're going to have an issue with that. And that's the thing. People don't realize with Spider-Man, most of his really, really good villains are pretty graphic. Spider-Man in general, if you think about it, is a fairly graphic novel.
Well, let me ask you this question. If they do Carnage like they're supposed to, will it hurt their money? Because do you really want your child to see Carnage like Carnage really is?
Here's the thing. Kids. My kids watch Die Hard because I knew Die Hard in and out. I'm like, okay, it's this, it's that. We'll continue talking about this for a few minutes. I think that if you know what you're getting into, you can bring kids. But I'm tired of these movies being relegated by, let's get kids to come to see them. If it's going to be rated R, you don't want all kids to come and see it. Marvel has stuck to the idea that kids come to these things. Yet here we are, we're three grown men. There's tons of grown men and grown women out there that talk about this on YouTube. Your clientele, the money coming out of the pockets is coming from older people. And I'm not saying we're old. I'm just saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's coming from us. Kids are not. If the kids go see the movies, they're not going by themselves. Their parents are going, and the kids are like, hey, let's go with them.
That's true. But sometimes our kids get us in the movies.
Yeah, but I don't think it's like that with Marvel. I think this is something that a lot of us who followed comic books for a long time had waited for. Geeks.
But the casual fan, I don't know. Because I mean,
but I don't think
I can barely get my wife.
How many kids went to go see Venom?
I don't know.
I mean, that was kind of
a lot because they made over $1 billion, so somebody went to saw it.
I know, but I mean, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, okay, and if you're talking like that, okay, fine.
I mean,
Carnage,
I'm just asking.
You can't back off of Carnage too much.
I agree with what you're saying. All I'm saying is, if it's like what we saw in the comic books, and we saw, because the cartoon version wasn't as graphic as the comic book was. Because Carnage was on Spider-Man during the 90s. I remember seeing it, but it wasn't as graphic as it was in the cartoon.
No, I was just gonna say, like, it will hurt their money a bit, but just remember, for all the people that can't take their kids to go see it, there will be just as much that are dying to see an R-rated Spider-Man movie. You know, so it may not make $1 billion, but it'll make money.
Orange Hat right here, he makes a very good point. It won't hurt their money. Joker made $1 billion. Think about that for a second. Joker, if you think about this, Joker, the big problem with that was, think about, it's very realistic. There's not very much comic book about it, but it's still set in the comic book
exactly
world. And you see a guy shoot a man in the head.
The only comic book thing about it was the name and,
that's fine.
And the makeup.
That's fine, but that's still who went to go see it. I guarantee you, most of the people who went to go see that movie were comic book fans. And the thing is that. Go ahead, Jason.
No, I was going to say some of them were, but you got to understand it also appealed to a different type of a person too, right? Because it had a lot to do with mental illness and stuff like that. So
even more,
they're not seeing. No, yeah, but what I'm saying is they're not seeing a big creature running across their screen. You know what I mean? So it was more like a more based in reality, like Batman type of.
Yeah,
I mean, put up what 14 Barber just posted.
And yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is I don't think that they have to worry about kids, and I think Disney is the one doing that mostly. I mean, I have a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old, basically 15. I mean, I should say that, but the fact of the matter is that I wouldn't hesitate to take them to go see anything that's a comic book movie. I think they know the difference. Is it graphic? Possibly, but and you know, that's fine. I mean, I don't. These companies need to start thinking. I don't know. Have a guy sitting out front counting between the two, and at the end of the whole run of the movie, figure out, okay, we had 85% of the people that came saw this were adults. So are we worried about adults or are we worried about children? That's really where I'm going. These movies are really, especially Disney, they're really hanging on that kid thing.
And let's be real, kids see worse stuff on YouTube than they do in these movies. You know what I mean? So
I can tell you the perfect example, though, Jason. I got my 2 grandsons. I would not let them see Scorpion's Revenge.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't let them watch that either.
My grandson plays Mortal Kombat. He played the first 3 or 4, but the last 10, 11, and 12, he don't play that. But I would just say I would not let my 2 grandchildren, and they're Mortal Kombat fans, see this last that was just made.
How old are they?
6 and 4.
Yeah, see, no. That's where parental oversight comes into.
But they play the game. What I'm saying,
when I grew up when Mortal Kombat first started, and I know my mother, and I can't remember exactly how old I was, but I know my mom was like, "You're never gonna play that game." So what did I do? I went over to my friend's house. You can think all you want as a movie studio, as a parent, that your kid isn't going to watch Venom or Carnage or anything like that. You can think that. Kids,
they're going to watch it. I was just saying.
I grew up when you could. What?
I was just saying that because I think that's what Marvel always says.
Yeah, but this isn't Marvel per se.
I know, but we brought Marvel in. I don't think Sony in other places, but Marvel and people. I mean, but Disney. That's the first thing they think. Are kids gonna be able to see this? Because kids, I know there've been a couple movies that the only reason I went to see it is because my grandson wanted to see it. I didn't care about that stuff. But I was like, okay, you want to go see this? Let me go see. And that's what I'm saying.
And
a lot of time. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say this. Like I said, you also have to know what type of kid you have. You know what I mean? Like if you have a kid that, because my son was young. And I was watching Lord of the Rings in my room, you know what I mean? He was like maybe 3 or 4. And as he walked in was when the dude's head got chopped off and he was like laughing. And I was like, that didn't scare you? He was like, no, I found it funny. So I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? So I kind of eased him into certain things, not going all the way, but I understand that he knew the difference between a movie and reality. And it wasn't something that scared him. So like I said, if you know what type of kid you have, you know what I mean? Then you can actually decide whether maybe I could take them to see this or maybe I can't, you know?
Let's talk about this is part of another question. I think, Danny, you put this one in. talking about Iron Man coming back, if they stay true to the comics, the new Avengers could do the Illuminati storyline as a follow-up, which would involve Iron Man if it stayed true to the comics. Could that be a way they could bring Downey back to Marvel? Now, I'll let you guys go, and then I'll tell you what I've read recently about this. So whichever one of you guys want to start with that one.
If they do the new Avengers, they do the Illuminati storyline. The only way I can see it make sense is they do the what if, or maybe the Loki timeline. He's not dead, and they do that. I don't know. I'm sure Doctor Strange would be involved in some because he's part of Illuminati.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have to introduce Namor as well as Reed Richards. I can't think of who. I think Black Panther, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
That's the only way it can make sense. It cannot make sense in this timeline. If they do the Loki timeline and Iron Man is still alive, then they can do that, and then it could be some kind of big world crisis, or Galactus could be the thing. I don't know.
That's the way it makes your comment that it won't work in this timeline. This timeline has got time travel in it. Anything works in this timeline. That is the key of bringing time travel into a movie universe like this, is that you now have multiple strands. That's exactly what Star Trek did. It makes sense for things that don't make sense. So when something doesn't make sense and doesn't fit the narrative or the storyline, you can say, oh, but that happens over here, not here. So yeah, similar to what you're saying, but all those timelines are still a part of this group. It just, they have to figure out a way to tie it in. And with time travel and other things, Pym particles and stuff like that, I think anything can be brought in.
I think it's going to be Doctor Strange 2, the multiverse. That's what's going to tie everything together, right? It has to be, because other than that, everything's going to get confusing for people. Like, we're comic book people, so we can basically break down something and say, okay, this is what this is and this is what that is. But a normal person that's not watching or reading comic books, they're going to have a hard time understanding what's going on. So the best way to do it would be with Doctor Strange and the multiverse, explain the multiverse, and maybe show how someone can travel from one multiverse to a next. And that's how you get basically into that story.
And I agree with that. I think Doctor Strange and the Doctor Strange in the multiverse of madness, I think it explains exactly, and I think that's going to be the way they're going to explain to fans how nuts timelines can be in comic book worlds. And what's funny to me is that all the different timelines that are in Star Trek, you still have people who don't like the new Star Trek movies. I'm like, you have to place them aside from the old ones. They're not trying to be the old ones. They're new. This is completely different. It's in a completely different area and different timeline. And that's the thing. If you're a true fan, you understand. And let me rephrase true fan. People are true fans. They may just not get the idea behind it. But fans who have studied and owned the books and dived into the particulars of different ships and stuff like that, they understand that's over there. If I don't like it, I don't have to pay attention to it because it has nothing to do with my timeline. And I think they're best to do that to, again, kind of gloss over the problems that could be in these movies. Oh, well, that didn't happen in your timeline that you like. That happened over here. And I think, again, that's possibly why they're doing all these different shows, which, again, comes into the play. And I understand the virus has made this difficult. They needed to have gotten on this before this. These should have been ready to go before this. And this has been Disney Plus's problem from the get-go. They had The Mandalorian ready, but they had nothing to back it up afterwards. Disney Plus, if Disney wants to get this working right, which we'll see what happens when everything starts coming back up, Disney needs to start saying, we need to have production ready to go before the next one's over.
And they can't, that's what I'm saying. They can't wait so long before they bring something else out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, how long has it been since Mandalorian ended, and we still don't have no Marvel content whatsoever? No. At least give us the what ifs, if anything. If that you could do.
Because what if supposed to be animated?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you see, so I know that they're doing a bunch of CGI and post production stuff on a lot of movies right now with these people at home. Can't animation be done at home? Couldn't they just say, you know what, we can't do these, and then let's go back to the days of animation. Some of those things they do 2 or 3 episodes and start airing them and start working on the next few. Why not do that? Get 2 or 3 episodes up and running, throw it out there, and say, okay, let's get the next one going. Let's get the next one going. At least then you got something going.
It depends on what kind of animation they're going to use, because that 3D animation is a little bit more intense process.
But those things have the 3D animation computers. The thing about computers is, and especially with a company like Disney, any animator that's working with Marvel or Disney right now has access to millions of skeletons, meaning the wire frames that they put up. They've done millions of those. I almost guarantee you, maybe not millions, let's go hundreds of thousands for different movies. And all of those skeletons, all of those wireframes are in a database. They pull it, and then they can manipulate it just a little bit. And so it's already pre-done mostly. So all you have to do is manipulate it to make it look more like the character you want. And then the skins that they put over it, that's all pre-done. Just you have to color it differently or change it a little bit. It's all, a lot of it's pre-done. And I think that means that it would be a lot quicker than people realize. Now, not instantaneous, I mean, but right now, if they had started this now, they could have something up and running before everything's up and running completely. They would start right now. I almost say by the end of May, they could have 3 or 4 episodes ready to air.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Yeah,
they've been working on it for how long now? I'm pretty sure they're not just doing one project at a time, right? So they have a team working on something else. So they should have something to show. And I'm like, you know,
and if you watch Flash CW, they bring the same character back several times. Yeah. Harrison always comes back, a different Harrison, and it's seamless how they do it. So same way they brought him back, they could bring back Tony Stark.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying they can't bring Tony Stark back.
I was just using that as an example because
I was going to mention though.
14 Barber said something very enlightening about Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I think people can understand it as long as you show them the idea behind it. I'm not saying people can't understand it. Now
somebody's saying, "Oh, he died in Endgame, and now he's back." I can hear that already.
Well, no. Here's the thing. I don't think that they can't bring him back. I think the problem is a lot of things are saying for the amount of money that he wants.
Yeah.
And not only that, but he doesn't want to be a full-on participant. I think that leads to the AI.
But I think now they got some leverage because for 10 years he was Mr. Hot Thing. Now for 2 years he came by a #1 hit movie. So I'm pretty sure Favreau. I mean, maybe Favreau, but Favreau. Look, I understand that you're Iron Man, blah blah blah. But guess what? Since you left us, you haven't done so well. So we need you to take a hometown discount.
I don't know, man. Some people would much rather walk away than take a hometown discount.
If he tells me if I'm accustomed to getting 100 million, he said I can only get 50. Where do I sign?
I think if he were to do something like that, he's going to say, "How about this? I'll let you have one movie for that much. If it goes and gets knocked out of the park, we'll talk about the next one."
Okay,
I think they might.
That's fair.
I think he'd be more willing to do a.
That's fair.
Deal by deal. I don't think he's ever going to sign himself to a multi-deal again. So,
yeah, I don't think so either.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. We normally make this the short one. We're right up against an hour. So we're going to wrap this all up. Everybody, go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself. Jason, go ahead and tell them about yourself again.
Like I said, it's Jason Miller. I love this area that's doing the streaming stuff. I don't have my channel yet, but I'm still working on it. I'm still thinking about stuff to put up and maybe starting my own content. So when I do, I hope you all watch me. It was great having me. Great being on the show, Chris. Thanks a lot, man.
Well, we loved having you on, man. I appreciate you coming on here with such such short notice. I can talk, trust me.
We're locked down. I ain't got nothing else to do. So
Still, I don't assume anybody's schedule. I don't ever assume anybody's schedule. So
no, I feel you.
all right. And then again, the guy that's with me every week, at least 2 or 3 times a week. Comic Chat, Danny Graham. Danny, go ahead and tell them about your channel and all that.
I am Danny. My channel is Comic Chat on YouTube. It's Comic Chats on Twitter. I have a show every Monday called The Chaotic Conversation, where usually I rank different things. I have not come up with a category for tomorrow night, but I will make sure I get one here shortly before the end of the day. Also, you can see me later on today at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with my good friend Terrence, and Jason will also be joining us. It's called Equilibrium. Our main topic today is going to be Mortal Kombat Legends, Scorpion's Revenge. So please check us out in about 2 hours from now, where we will be discussing in great detail our likes and dislikes to that particular animation movie.
All right. And guys, thank you for coming on again. And everybody in the chat, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for your input. Appreciate it. All right. Say goodbye, guys. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.